Welcome trainers to another video. Today we are playing on the awesome, amazing Decidueye, and we are going to be taking a look at how to play the Spirit Shackle build. Decidueye is a Pokemon where, depending on the move kit you play, there are a few key things to note. Now I will say, if you're looking for a more generic Decidueye guide, be sure to just check it out on the channel or click the link above, as that guide will go into each and every move and some generic things about this Pokemon. Now, in this match, you'll see I'm going for the score when I am in lane with Decidueye like I am right now, and where I think is a good choice for the Spirit Shackle build. I like to take the build of Muscle Band and Scope Lens, which I think you need to take no matter what you're doing with this Pokemon, but then I like to take a risky third choice of the attack weight. And because the reason I'm choosing that is that Spirit Shackle in particular scales amazingly with attack, and the attack weight is the best way to get that attack buff. Even though you do take a risk as a squishy Pokemon that you might not get your stacks every game, or you might not get them until late game, I still think it's a worthwhile trade-off, especially if you're in solo queue. I just think you'll have a pretty good option to get the attack weight stacks, and you'll see in this game that it is possible. Now in the early game, obviously not too much is changing. You'll see me here, we're trying to push in, as I said, get those early dunks, and really just trying to farm as well as we can. Decidueye is not an amazing early game laner. He does okay. He's probably not the worst choice just because you do have a good amount of damage from range with your basic attacks, but in this early game, just be trying to position yourself behind your teammates, try to get as much farm as possible like you can, and really you're just trying to stay alive and not give up any early kills. And it helps when you can be like me in this lane with a tank like this Squirtle helping me out, taking up some of the enemy hits, and really just preparing me to do pretty well. And you can see as we're about to hit this 8-minute mark, we're almost level 6, so it was a pretty good early game, and we're going to push in against this enemy Squirtle and Wigglytuff, and really we have a nice early game in this game, and you can see that we're going to do pretty well. We will get this early KO, but that is okay. Now let's start to talk about, as we prepare for Spirit Shackle, some of the bonuses of picking up this moveset versus the other one. The Razor Leaf build is great at dealing damage to lots of opponents, at whittling opponents down. It's great in team fights, but the Spirit Shackle build obviously gives you some of the most insane range in the game. It gives you some great burst potential, and the way that I like to use it is really to dominate and eliminate the enemy back line, and we'll get to see that and get into that more as we get into the late game. Now, whatever build you're taking with Decidueye, you're really, until you get to level 7, not going to be able to offer too much value, but be sure when you are in situations like this that you're backing up your front line, offering as much damage with your basic attacks as you can, and using your Astonish to help slow and track enemies down when you can be helpful in that way. Now you can see me here, Rotom is up, but I'm not too concerned with it yet, and it's because I really need to hit level 7 before I can be a huge help. So we get out of this sticky situation, and we're really just looking for any way that we can hit that level 7 to prepare ourselves for this Rotom fight that looks like it's going to be a 2v2. Now we do get lucky in this game, and our team actually picks up the level 7 for us by getting Dreadnought, and now we're going to be able to start to see that awesome Spirit Shackle build which has such crazy range. Now, the things I'm looking for whenever I'm choosing who my targets are for Spirit Shackle is, first and foremost, I want to hit the enemies that are going to be damaged the most by it. So that would be all of the enemies' attack damage carries or their mages, any enemy Pokemon which is going to lose a lot of health fast. So basically I'm avoiding hitting their tanks when possible. I'm also going to try to set myself up for a couple steals of either farm or hopefully some big objectives, as that is one of the big bonuses with Spirit Shackle. Now you also have to be really careful, like in that situation it didn't matter because I had my team, but you have to be very precise with your Spirit Shackle move targeting. It has a long range but also has a big opportunity to miss, and with a long cooldown. Now how Spirit Shackle works, just to clarify, is that the longer you charge it up, if you see when I'm charging it up, there's a little mark on the bar, and once you hit that little mark, you're at maximum damage potential. So you want to charge it up most of the time until that mark right there that I almost got to, and then fire it off to the enemy for bonus damage. Now the other thing you'll notice, and you can see we're at 5 kills, 4 assists with 5 minutes to go, so we're having quite a good day, particularly considering that we are a lane Decidueye, which is not where Decidueye shines. Also, when you use Spirit Shackle, you'll notice, if you pay attention, there will be a kind of ghostly looking mark on the ground where you originally hit the enemy. And if the enemy leaves that mark before it disappears and they get too far away, they're going to take a second shot of damage, which is really amazing and kind of locks the opponent down. And a lot of people don't really know how that works and just get caught up in getting away from you anyway. Now another just quick tip here with Decidueye, you see me almost pop that Unite move, but I decided not to, simply because, especially on mobile, it's incredibly difficult to see the screen and where you're shooting if you shoot either up or down on the screen. So I wanted to get myself in position to shoot to the right so that I could use my screen to the full effect. So just a little quick tip on the Unite move there. Now we're going to see, at this point I've got my Spirit Shackle, I'm starting to get leveled up, we've got some KOs, and I'm going to start to use a lot of positioning to get myself to where I can engage in team fights early. We can get some nice big chip damage on enemies that are weak, and then we can go from there. So you'll see me charge up this Spirit Shackle. I see the Blastoise first, but I don't fire right away because I know that it's not going to do too much, and I wait until I saw the Eldegoss there to deal some extra damage to the Eldegoss. The other thing you can do is try to line your shots up like that right there where you're hitting multiple enemies, and that's where Spirit Shackle really tries to shine. If you can use that Spirit Shackle in team fights to hit 2 or more enemies, you're really maximizing damage because it does just as much damage to the first as the second as the third, etc. So be looking for opportunities to line up skill shots where you're knocking down multiple enemies, and a lot of that has to do with your positioning. For example, right here I'm going to get in line here with the lane, so that if any enemies did come, I could look right down the lane and potentially get multiple enemies caught in that Spirit Shackle. Now I want to talk about Shadow Sneak for a minute. It's a move that goes underrated. Obviously, it can be used, I like to use it for scouting purposes, because I know that if I see my shadow go out, then I can use that to follow it to an enemy if I'm worried about getting ganked somewhere. So first, you can use Spirit Shackle as a great utility and eyesight and vision tool to find out where enemies are. Now it also slows enemies that people recognize, but what you might not know about Shadow Sneak is that it actually lowers the enemy's defense, and at Shadow Sneak Plus at level 13 it lowers it even more. So what I like to do is, before I engage in a fight, I pop my Shadow Sneak to try to hit an enemy, and then my Spirit Shackle is going to deal extra damage because that Shadow Sneak has actually lowered their defense. Now also, Spirit Shackle Plus, which I believe you get at level 11, that lets you deal extra damage if an enemy is below half health. So you really become an assassin at level 11, where you're KOing enemies who are low. I get here and I almost pop the Unite move, but because it's so close to Zapdos, and then I end up using it, but not very well there. You can see all the enemies are too far away. I held on to it because I was worried they would all jump on me too soon. And then here's where we can get to this late game and really see this Spirit Shackle shine. So you see that Wigglytuff had to make some distance from me, took the extra bit of damage, and then we're going to charge up as many Spirit Shackles as we can. We get a nice one against that huge team fight, like I mentioned, and then you have to make sure to still get in with your auto attacks. You're going to use your Spirit Shackle to deal massive upfront damage, but then it's also your basic attacks which are going to do a lot of the actual KOs for you, because you still need that consistent damage over time. Wigglytuff does take me out, but not before we did a ton of damage, helped out to get the 4 against 2 knockouts there, and you can see me trying to tell my team this Lucario is going to go for Zapdos. Kind of risk throwing, but I'm trying to signal to my team to take out the Wigglytuff before we get that. But as you can see, Spirit Shackle is a really viable option on Decidueye, especially if you've got a decent team like this one that I have that's going to engage in team fights with you. It can be used to push enemies greatly. Here's another scenario where Spirit Shackle is really good. You're going to see here in just a moment I'm going to go down and try to play some defense. I missed that Blastoise, but that's no problem. And it just gives me so much range to protect my goals here. It doesn't end up mattering a lot because I'm able to get there sooner, but you can certainly picture a moment where I was a little bit behind there, and the Spirit Shackle could actually get me in to deal more damage from farther away. So we had a really nice game here. We'll take a look at the stats just so you guys can see what can be done on the Spirit Shackle build with Decidueye. I do think it's a viable option. I think it's a little bit trickier, a little bit more skill-based, but also so fun. And I think it's pretty good. Probably not for competitive play, but in solo queue, as you can see, we had 98 points. We got 11 kills and 16 assists. With this build, because you're dealing damage from so far away, you really do rack up the assist. Luckily, I had a pretty good team there and overall had a good time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope your next battle is your best one yet. Good luck out there, my friends.